into the latest edition of our Cubs Recap podcast, a presentation of our Recap YouTube channel and available audio only everywhere you get your favorite podcast with my partner, Gordon Wittenmeyer. I'm David Kaplan. It's such a treat. We get to talk to the great Ryne Sandberg. He's going to have his statue unveiled. Rhino, a Hall of Famer. Rhino, first of all, thank you for doing this. How are you feeling?
Well, guys, I'm feeling good, and you know what? Through everything, thick and thin, and through the hard times, and getting through the diagnosis, and getting through the chemo, that was my answer for the last 4 months. I didn't want to get down or to really settle in and focus on what was going on. But every morning I woke up and looked at the bright spots and looked at where I was feeling and looked at my game plan, my focus, what I was going to do that day, what Margaret and I can do to help me along the way. And my answer was, I'm doing fine, because before the diagnosis and the pain that I was in, that was not fine. So everything after the first dose of chemo and some of the pain went away, that's how it's been. So, going back to late December, middle of January, when it was a little bit rough, I'd get my treatments. I'd go outside, walk around the yard, do my things, beat the dog, whatever. Even though I wasn't feeling that great, I just went about it feeling good and a positive attitude. And so things have gone well. I'm 4.5 weeks past chemo. I'm into radiation. Things are looking really well, and the end is in sight. So I feel good about that.
Yeah, we saw you on social media put out there that no signs of the cancer detected in the latest test. Is all that still the case and everything's rolling on?
Yes, that's correct. And that's a PET scan and an MRI. But what I have is something that will never go away. So that doesn't mean that it's gone and totally gone. It's something that going to have to maintain. And what that means is it doesn't show up. So it's so small and minute that it doesn't show up on a PET scan, but they know that it's still there, and that's what the radiation for the next 8 weeks is for, and get it down to even the bare minimum, and then that will be, the rest of my life maintaining that and getting the checkups, and start with 3 months and hopefully go to 6 months, a year, whatever that is. But prognosis, and the doctor's very pleased with everything up to this point, and the prognosis is very good.
Man, it's terrific.
So, Rhino, take us back to, you weren't feeling great. You take us to that moment, because my mom had cancer. I've lost my mother-in-law to cancer. Take us back to that moment and how you're this elite athlete and you have a great family, how you process it, and then how you attack it.
Yes. Well, first of all, I probably stayed with it without getting checked up for probably about 10 days. I said, well, I got some symptoms here, some back pain and some things. And then it got to the point of excruciating, but kind of like dealt with it in that manner, not realizing or suspecting or anything on the cancer side of things. So once I was diagnosed, Margaret and I just kind of sat there for a moment and just absorbed that. And then with the conversation with the doctor, top notch, downtown Northwestern, and the best you can get, just walked us through it. And this is the game plan. And when are we going to start? We're going to start as soon as you get your bags packed and get checked into the hospital. We'll get started on chemo, and that's the first step. So once I realized that and walked through the game plan, then that became my game plan. And it was a game plan that was drawn out for about three months. And so I had a calendar in front of me. I had my days, my appointments, my days off, and all that. And that's when it was, I think I just reverted back to my playing days. This is what I'm doing. I got my goals. I got my plan. I have my routine, positive attitude, feeling good. Let's get after it. Let's put some check marks on the calendar and go. So shocked at first, to answer your question. As I've learned along the way through education, through my brother and my sister, my mom had breast cancer and bladder cancer, and my grandpa way back when had colon cancer, something that I did not know. And so now came to realization that also one of my first questions to the doctor was, what did I do wrong? I didn't have any education about cancer. What did I do wrong, lifestyle or anything? He said, nothing. This is just bad luck. It's a gene thing. You did nothing wrong. So this is the plan. This is what we're going to do. And then at that point, maybe a couple nights sleep to let it settle in. And then once I checked into the hospital, it was just get after it and let's go.
Hey, Ryne, I'm curious. You go in because you've got back pain and I don't know what other symptoms, but what did you think it was? What kinds of outcomes did you think you might be in for?
I had no idea. But as soon as they said prostate, I said, well, yeah, as an older person, I use the restroom more often, no doubt about it. And that was another thing that I kind of said, well, maybe this is normal for being 64 years old, but to have to go to the bathroom, once an hour and it's an emergency to get there and to go. That was a symptom that was there for a month prior to the back pain. And the back pain was actually the cancer, which spread from my prostate to my pelvis area. And so that was the pain in the back, but it was a going to the bathroom problem that I wasn't aware of and didn't really take notice and careful notice of it for about a month.
So that's the kind of thing people should be aware of. Probably.
No question. You know what, going on in social media and Instagram, it was about, number one, telling everybody that would want to know this is what's happening. I'm not going to be at Cubs convention. I'm not going to be at spring training. We'll see what happens with opening day, which became a goal of mine. But I didn't want speculation or guessing or through the grapevine or wrong guessing. So just to get the word out, you know what? That was one of the smartest things maybe I've ever done, because it was a big load off of my chest. And then to let everybody know like that, the comments and the outpouring of support and thoughts and prayers that I've gotten since day one has been incredible. But everybody's been known about it. They followed the journey. They understand. They see me on the street and they check in with the thing that what I like is, we're praying for you. You're looking good, rather than way back when, Rhino, you look different. What's going on? So they took all the guesswork out of it. So that, and along with I've shared in my thoughts and stories some of the things that I would suggest, and it is awareness and getting checked. And if you feel something that's something, anything like the symptoms that I've listed, then you need to get checked out. So that was another part of it.
So one of my best friends in the world is Eddie Olczyk. And Eddie said, well, I was having some stomach issues, didn't get a colonoscopy. And the next thing you know, he's got stage 3 colon cancer. And so he said, do I keep it intensely private, or I'm a public figure? I can maybe get somebody out there, man or woman, to go get a colonoscopy that wasn't going to get one. So he chose to go public with it. And he said, any interview I do, the one thing I ask them, you don't have to pay me anything. Ask me whatever you want, but I want the message to get out there to get a colonoscopy. You chose the same path. Are you glad you did?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, it was one of the smartest things and best decisions I've made in the past 20 years. And just to go through this for that reason of comfortability for me in public and around the neighborhood and at Wrigley Field and everything, took all the guesswork out of it. And it's just been nothing but everybody knowing and the knowledge of it. And they've greeted me right away from day one properly. We're with you and all that, rather than guessing, he looks a little different, wonder what the deal is. So that, along with hopefully creating some awareness and of the symptoms and things, and to get checked. And I do recommend, I don't know what the age is, I don't know if it's 40, 45 or 50, but there's some areas that I would definitely recommend those ages to start thinking about the tests and getting checked out. Because modern medicine is so good that they can get right on it. And I think that, that's what I've gone through and been so happy for, is the way that my body adjusted to the chemo and the meds, and to be on the path that I'm on now. Very grateful.
Yeah, you look great. So do you have, are there any other messages that you wanted to get out there?
Well, not really messages, but for for today, for you guys, I had an experience, and it's a topic that it's baseball related. It's Chicago, it's youth baseball, it's kids. And you know what? With the grandkids, I go to games T-ball all the way up to high school now, and I enjoy each level of it. And it's funny, I have to adjust my eyes to that day with what I'm looking at. But I think that there's a little bit of a thing and a dilemma that the kids are in with the age 13 to 14 years old, where it's just the travel baseball, and they don't have really the school baseball. And it's a dilemma. It costs a lot of money and everything. But I experienced something last Sunday that was totally incredible. I was going to watch a kid play, and I was well aware that they're playing against a good team. But I was also aware that there was a coach that was very much used the tactics of intimidation and bullying on the opposing team, and I was just aware of that. So now I'm watching the game there, and of course everybody's recognizing me watching. Oh, he's at the game, look at him and all that. So as I'm watching this, it didn't take me long to figure out that this is totally intimidating and bullying, and I see that, and all of a sudden, within 3 innings, I see this coach go out there and with his antics reverse 2 calls that were made and taking a diving catch away from an outfielder from the team that I was watching. And then he went with his arms and yelling, had a balk that was called on this poor pitcher, just to name a couple of things. And as the second time around, I said, wow, this isn't right. And the coach that I was there to watch, the young guy, walked out there and was within a minute told to go back to the dugout, stay in the dugout the rest of the game. And at that moment, I was thinking, well, everyone knows that I'm here. This is not acceptable with what I'm watching. I walked out on the field and said, what's going on here, guys? This isn't right. And he's, who are you? Well, I'm Ryne Sandberg. And the coach goes, well, I know who you are. What are you doing out here? I said, well, I don't like what I'm seeing here. For me, for youth baseball, this is totally improper to me, and it's not good for the kids. And as that all turned out, as I was walking off, one of the dads said, "Get off the field. You're a has-been."
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
And this was a dad that I was told was a sidekick of the coach. So between the parent and the coach, I got a taste of 13-year-old baseball, which I just could not sit there and tolerate. Now when I get back, I stand over by the opposing team's parents. Hey, Mr. Sandberg, good to see you. A huge fan. All this stuff, all up and down the line with those dads. And I said, how do you guys put up with this? And he said, well, we just at this point, we realize what we're looking at, but we just keep our mouths shut. We have to. We almost have to. We paid for it. We signed up for it. We're kind of tight-lipped. And they said, and by the way, they say that he's the best coach in the state.
Oh, geez.
I said, really? I said, this is the worst coaching tactics and worst that I've seen. I've been here for an hour. And they said, and one of them said, well, maybe it's self-proclaimed, but that's what they said when we signed up. Wow. So this is another awareness thing. This is nothing about me. I've lived my dream. I continue to live my dream, but here in Chicago, and see this with the youth in Chicago, and it's a dilemma across the country. This is also awareness and education to the parents to be careful what you're signing the kids up for.
Yeah.
And be aware of that, and do some interviews and talk to parents and get the program that you believe in. It sounds like it's for your kid, not just some random thing. Oh, the best coach in the state. Is there even a poll that comes up?
No.
At 13-year-old of this? It's not in Sports Illustrated. The best 13-year-old coach in Illinois. No. I said no. I said that's unheard of.
That's crazy.
I don't get that. And then I go over to the dads at the team that I'm watching, and they said, well, how about that comment from the parent there? I said, oh, that means nothing to me. I am 60. I'll be 65 in 2 months. Maybe I am a has-been, but I've lived the dream and I continue to, and I'll just take that with a grain of salt. And so they said, also another thing that they do, these coaches on this other team, they actually steal signs from the catcher
Oh,
on the pitches at 13 years old and relay it to the hitters. 1 clap for fastball, 2 for curveball. And then here the parents are paying the big bucks. The kids are hitting because they know what's coming. And what do? Hey, how about signing up for next year? The kid hits 600. And I'm thinking, I said, well, they should hit 600.
They know the pitches.
And not only that, the dad goes to me, and they also have earpieces in the catcher's ears and the middle infielder's ears, and they're getting information. I said, well, this isn't a level playing field here. This is absolutely absurd what I'm hearing here, what I'm experiencing in an hour and a half of watching this. Then as I went out there, the inning was over when I was out there with the coach, the head coach, and then he came back to the dugout. His whole team was there, and his parents were right there. He came to the edge of the dugout and said, "Hey, Rhino," he took his hat off. He said, "Hey, Rhino, at least I have more hair than you."
You gotta be kidding me.
No. And I went like this. I took my hat off and I said, "Yeah, you do. Congratulations." And you could hear a pin drop amongst the players were just all eyes looking. You could hear a pin drop with the parents, and here that coach stood there with a big smile. And that was his response to somebody that's going through what I'm going through. And the parents of the other team, they were right over there. One came over and said, "Ryan, I'm so sorry about that." I said, "No, you kidding me? From what I've seen, I wouldn't expect anything other than that." I said, "You know what? I'm sorry for you. You're the parent. Your kid's on his team. No, don't be apologetic for me. I'm sorry for your son." And he goes, "Well, you know what? You have a point there."
Have you heard from the league at all?
What league and what neighborhood is this?
It's 13-year-old baseball, and it's from a team called Sparks, and they're out of Bensonville. And this was the most disrespectful, lack of respect for the game of baseball. I was forced to walk onto that field after I knew it was happening, and everybody knew I was there. I can't sit there and condone something like that, nor would I.
Yeah.
But it's all about sticking up for the players on both teams, the parents on both teams. And it was a Sunday morning, beautiful morning. And as it turns out, every one of the game is like that they participate in. And for me, that's a reflection of the whole organization of whatever elite teams or levels they have. That's all I know. And I got a taste of that, and a very bad taste. And I just felt so bad for those players and those parents in that situation.
That's awful.
What was your youth baseball experience? You grow up in the state of Washington. I have a son who lives in that area now. His wife's from Seattle. What was your experience like? Because
he's not
it seems
from
like
Seattle.
it's out of
He's
control
the other
now.
side of the state. He's
My
Central High School.
My experience was very seasonal. I played 3 sports. Whatever was on TV, I wanted to play with my buddies. Started off at grade school in the front yard, played on the street corners. Next thing you know, we're playing junior high for the team. We're playing for those teams. Now we're getting to high school, and just through I never moved. So it was my same bunch of buddies all the way through. And for me, my experience was, just got taught the basic fundamentals of the sports and just worked on that. Those basic fundamentals, for me, and it's still that for me, baseball at any level, it's the basic fundamentals. It's hitting the baseball, throwing it, catching it, running. And then you just got the bunting, you got the hit, the cutoff man, you have things like that. The players that hone those the best and practice at the best and execute those things, and also the game situations and recognizing the game situations and do those properly the best, those are the best players on the field.
Yeah.
It's not about hitting the ball over the fence. It's not about swinging up and home runs. It's about putting the bat on the ball consistently, using the whole field, hitting all the pitches, catching the ball, throwing the ball, running the bases. Whoever does that the best at any level, they're the best players, and those are the ones that move up. Now, so from T-ball all the way up, for me, that's it. And that was my experience, was in all the sports, was the basic fundamentals. I also was able to have fun and enjoy myself. And another thing that disturbed me was, for the parents, awareness for the parents. This is someone that your kids with 2.5 months, and then they sign up and they do inside hitting and drills for another 3 months. Coaches for me are mentors at any level. It's an extension of the parent and the home, and mentors to be good citizens, to play the game the right way, to be on time, work ethic, be part of a team, pull for the team, all those things, rather than earplugs and stealing signs and cheating. No, it's about not cheating and playing the game the right way, and honing your skills and having fun and all that. It's very basic, but that's what goes a long way with me.
It's funny how some things never go out of style. Some things never change, like what makes a good baseball player, some of the stuff you're talking about. By the way, 1984, I was living in Spokane that year, and and you and Mark Rippon and John Stockton were all kind of reaching these levels at the same time. It was probably a glory year in the history of Spokane sports. You get back there much? I know you don't make your home there anymore.
Don't make a home there. I have a brother and sister in the Seattle area. We do travel up there with my family here, and relatives. We meet at a lake, a chain of 4 lakes up by Colville. It's about an hour and a half north of Spokane. So we fly into Spokane and head up there, and go there once a year. But it's ironic what you're saying. I played against Mark Rippon. He was a sophomore when I was a senior, and I was an All-American quarterback before him, 77, 78.
Wow.
I broke the records. He came along, and now they started throwing 60 to 7 passes a game, and he broke some of the records and obviously went on with his career. I played against John Stockton. He was a sophomore. I was a senior at basketball. I remember him just as a sophomore, just point guard, just bringing the ball up, passing over here, really good passer. Shot, I probably got 10 points a game, didn't shoot much, but that was him as a sophomore. He took off. But when you think about it, and it's a pretty good trivia question, 3 MVPs of the 3 major sports from Spokane. Who are they? And it's us 3 guys, MVPs within our sport, from the small city of Spokane.
Oh, right. At the same time. It was crazy.
So when you get traded to the Cubs, I remember it. The deal gets done, and then Larry Bowa, I think, called you and said, "Hey, get to Phoenix. We're going to start taking ground balls together because you're going to play second." Or at the time, I think they originally wanted you to play third. They move you to second. What was that dynamic, you and Larry Bowa? Because that is one feisty dude.
Well, it was. And you know what? I made the club that first year, and I made it as the third baseman. So I played the first 5 months at third base, and he didn't know that I was going to be on the roster or be a regular. So I didn't have any of that up to that point. But once I made the team as the third baseman as a rookie, I'd go to pregame lunch with him. Hey, Ryne, I'll meet you in the lobby. We're on the road at the first road. I'll meet you in the lobby at so-and-so time. We're going to go to lunch. And I did that all the years that he was with me with the Cubs. And in those early years, he would tell me about who's pitching that day, what to look for, the scouting report. This is what happened yesterday. We can do better there, whatever it might be. But he took me under his wing. And then that September 1st, Dallas Green and Lee Ely had brought me in the office in San Diego after watching me play 5 months at third base. We'd like to move you to second base. We think your range, your speed, your base stealing, your gap hitter, you score runs, maybe a 2-hitter. That's more like a middle infielder for us going forward to try and win. We'd like to move you to second base, and you're going to start tonight in San Diego at second base. Now, for all the years leading up to this, before the third baseman, I was a shortstop. So I had very limited play at second base. And so now Larry, once again, let's get out there a little bit early. We're going to need some double play feeds, and you need ground balls and the angles and talk about it. So it started then, and I played that month of my rookie season at second base, did fine. And then it was that next spring training. He calls me up in January. Hey, Ryne, I'll be out there in Mesa. I'm already here. Well, okay, I'll meet you out there February 1st, and we're going to get a 2.5-week head start on the pitchers and catchers. And a couple of coaches showed up, and we got ground balls, we got double play feeds, we did the whole thing. And that's when I really started to to hone in on my pregame routine and covering all the plays and the backhands and all the different throws and the flips and the pop-ups and the whole thing started then. And then as I was with him and the season started and all that, that's when the pregame, my ritual started. And this is what it takes. And he was telling me, this is what it takes. This is how you play catch. The first thing out there, you throw hard, you know, head high to shoulder high right here every time. This is how we're going to start. He played catch with me. And early on there, I was spraying balls all over the place. He's like making diving catches. And Ryno, no. I'm too old for this stuff. No. It's right here. It's right here. So now I'm like a little nervous. You know, first of all, it's Larry Bowa, who was like my mentor and the guy that I looked at with the Phillies. I'm from the Phillies as an 18, 19, 20-year-old, and here's Larry's the starting shortstop. I was keeping an eye on him. Right. Now he's telling me things. I mean, now I'm like guiding the ball, but then I got to know him and got over the hump with that, and it just started to take my pregame very serious, and the ground balls and covering all the plays that would come about. And then he was saying, once you do this and you do it as game speed as you can, you work up a sweat. Now when the game starts, you go in, change your uniform, come out, play the game, and just react to the game. And that's what I took forward. I never altered up until I was 39 years old, never altered my pregame unless it was for the better, a little tweak here or there as the years went on, and I'd see some other players and talk to them. But other than that, it was a pregame ritual that gave me confidence each day and success.
So all that work, all those days of practice, one thing leads to another, and now in a little over a week, right about a week, they're going to unveil a statue of Ryne Sandberg at Wrigley Field. Larry Bowa is going to be there for that. Bob Costas. Yep. Can you have you wrapped your mind around this? What that day might be like?
No, I haven't. But they told me a year and a half ago at the Cubs convention, so I've had some time. And the initial pleasure of that and elation of hearing that and thinking of the other statues that are there that I all knew and were part of my career one way or the other, to join them now, incredible. To wrap up what it's going to be like, well, I've invited a lot of key people. The first thing that I think about of that day and just to expect to feel and appreciate is my former players. I think back of the coaches, the manager, but there's going to be some key players that are there that, a guy doesn't get a statue without teammates, without, with me batting second, with a leadoff hitter, with a third hitter. That's how you get your runs, your hits, your RBI, all those things everything takes a team. And I think the 84 team, which was so special to not only Chicago and the fans and Wrigley Field and the organization, but us players, but myself, that was the year that being around and having a leadoff hitter like Bob Dernier and Gary Matthews behind me, and then Ron Say and Bowa and Buckner for part of the season, and Durham and Jody Davis and Sutcliffe, Eckers, all these guys. I was the youngest on the team by far. And I was just like a kid in the candy store around these guys, watching them play. And I was just playing, once again, just enjoying coming to the ballpark and having fun with them. And now we're winning because we have talent, and we got 162 games on WGN and Harry Caray, Steve Stone across the country. Now we get off the buses for the first time in Los Angeles or Montreal and New York and hear people calling my name to sign autographs at 2:30 in the morning with a late bus arrival. This was all new to me. It took my game to another level. And so that's where my focus is. And along with my friends along the way that I've met, and my family, and really everybody in my life that's meant something to me and meant to my career, a lot of them will be there that day. So that's what I'm looking forward to, and seeing those faces and sharing that moment with them.
So I've got to ask you, May 27, 1984, my brother and I, he's now an eye surgeon, and I'm 63 years old, and I'm at the game as a beer vendor. So is my brother. You guys are playing against the Reds, and Mario Soto hits one. They call it a homer. They discuss. They call it back. A brawl breaks out. Do you remember that game?
I do. first of all, yeah, it was. I think it was a 3-run home run, but I think Don Zimmer was the third base coach that really got bent out of shape.
He got knocked to the ground. Yes,
and he was arguing with the umpire and knocked to the ground. And I think that was the brawl. Like I think it was between those two guys.
Yeah.
But he just went nuts, and I rounded the bases, and then they turned it around, and whatever they did with the call. And I do remember that. Just an incredible memory that I have. You know, there's not too many pitches or games or innings that I don't recall, but the fact that you point that one out, very funny, a lot of humor there, but that was incredible.
Oh God, I saw the video. I couldn't believe it. I was there.
So that reminded me of this other question that I've been wanting to ask you actually for a while. So the statue unveiling is the 40th anniversary of the Ryne Sandberg game, the Sandberg game, the 2 big home runs and all those runs in the win, big win. So here's a question I have. Like, you guys remember an old slugger for the Braves, Joe Adcock?
Joe
Adcock. In the 1950s, he's there with Hank Aaron and Eddie Matthews. He once hit 4 home runs in a game and a double high off the wall. They never called that the Joe Adcock game. There was no such thing as an Adcock game. And there never was until you came along. And then so maybe it's the combination of that, popularity of the team, how well the team was doing, WGN, Harry Caray, I don't know. But for whatever reason, this phenomenon started with you that day. And now we keep, every time somebody has this big game, it's like the David Bodie game or the whoever.
The Caray Wood game.
Right. Caray Wood game, right. Has anybody over the years like sort of credited you with starting that, or have you thought about it in those terms?
Not really, but you know how that happened. You know, the game was played, it was over. Davey Owen got the key hit that drove in the winning run.
Yeah,
we went out there and celebrated. The place went nuts. Maybe a little bit louder than normal. You know, it was the Cubs Cardinals, and I just remember looking up, and half of the men had their shirts off, which definitely doesn't happen in today's game. But just that day and the game of the week, after shaking hands, for me as a baseball player and it being my job and everything, was just going to head down, go in the locker room, enjoy it with the teammates a little bit like we normally did, and you know what, go in and shower and call it a day and go home, and we have a game tomorrow. But they intercepted me before I got to the stairs and from the Cardinal side, and I went over and with Jack Buck, he wanted to do a post-game interview with me in their dugout, and I said, okay, I'll do that. So I walked across now from there over to there. Now the crowd went nuts again, and I said, wow, this is a little different here.
Yeah.
So I do the interview for about 15-20 minutes. He gives me a watch. He gives me a gold watch for doing the interview. Now I'm done with that. Okay, now that's done with. Okay, now I'm walking across the field back to our dugout. Nobody had left. They're going nuts again. And I just sat there and I just did a little tip of the cap. Now I go down the stairs, go in the locker room, and this is the first time I experienced this. I go in there and I couldn't even see my locker. The media was surrounded around that, and I couldn't even get to my locker. So I go and stand there just like, okay, this is something else. And they talked about the game, and we just took over first place for the first time. And then it was the ride home, I think, and just thinking about it. Okay, this is a team thing. This is organizational. It's the national game of the week, and that was kind of my focus. And I thought that would kind of end. And I think it was weeks later, months later, even after the season, after the MVP, where now they looked back, the fans and even some of my teammates, even today, said that was a turning point for everybody. And I didn't look at it that heavily, but maybe it was. But it was definitely a game that put me on the map, and it changed my whole mental thought on what I could do on a baseball field and my expectation. And I said, maybe the fans and maybe my teammates might expect more from me now. And then Hoodie's Whitey Herzog said, "Oh, he's the great." I think it was tongue in cheek when he was asked by a Chicago writer, "What'd you think about Sandberg's game?" And he said, "Oh, he's the greatest player I've ever seen." I think he was tongue in cheek and was so mad that that's what he said. But that was headlines. That was headlines the next day. So I'm thinking, oh man, all this stuff, and I got all these games to play. So I tried to live up to all those expectations the rest of the year, which I did. 200 hits and hit over 300 and MVP and Gold Glove and Silver Bat and all these things. Now, when that season was over with, on a disappointment in San Diego and had time to reflect on it, it was so much fun, and that's what I expected of myself now, that each year, all those became goals. Go to the playoffs, try and go to the World Series, all-star type of player, MVP type of player. And that was my expectation for me, and what I thought everybody would expect from me from that point on.
I got to interview Whitey Herzog, who just passed away not too long ago.
So, yes.
And I remember asking him about that game, and he goes, "I didn't get to manage Babe Ruth, but I got to get beat by Baby Ruth." And that's what he nicknamed you. People forget in that game, Willie McGee was like 5 for 6. Nobody remembers.
He hit for the cycle, and Bob Costas and Tony Kubek gave him the player of the game.
And then you hit the homer.
They had to take it back. They took it back and gave it to me. And
that's right.
Yeah, with the two, and both home runs were game tying and with 2 outs, nothing to lose. And I tell fans and people when I give talk, those are the 2 times in my whole career where I aimed underneath the baseball with my swing. All of us were trained, and I was trained to be on top of the ball, which resulted in bullet grounders, line drives, a little bit underneath home runs, trying to hit 300. Those 2 times in that situation, nothing to lose, everything to gain. I aimed actually a half a foot, whatever, underneath the ball. That's where the ball came, connected twice, and it just felt so strange. And then to run the bases and hear the response, and hey, we're still in this, and then to pull it out with the win. Now, if Davey Owen, the last guy on the bench, doesn't get a key pinch hit with the bases loaded, we lose that game. There's no Sandberg game. We don't take over first place. Whitey Herzog doesn't say that he's the best player. I don't know how that would have affected me as a player, that now it's time to raise my game. All that was so lined up for me personally, which I never thought about for my career and what that meant to me. Pretty incredible.
Unbelievable.
So let me get this straight. So you're taking the Player of the Game award back again and giving it to Dave Owen?
Well, I'm giving a huge. I wouldn't mind doing that, because I don't think I received anything for the Player of the Game that I could give him. But I've always given him credit and a tip of the cap for being there, ready to go. And he was a quality, scrappy hitter, and he laced a nice little line drive over the
right center. Yeah,
right center. We all went out there like a normal win, cheered, and came back. But I'll never forget, there was a different vibe that day after that win, and it lasted the next day. Shortly after that was I started my first All-Star game. That game got me voted into that game because I was well behind Steve Sachs at that point. And then for the last remainder of the 2 months of the season, I saw the people on the rooftops for the first time in my career, because Wrigley Field was sold out and we're in first place and we're coming down the stretch, and you just couldn't get a ticket like they could at Wrigley Field anymore. Just incredible year, and incredible teammates, good bunch of guys. Once again, WGN played a big part in that with our popularity, but our wins and winning for the first time playoffs in 45 years for the Cubs. It was, like I said, it was a life changer for me. And then we bounced back. Then we bounced back 5 years later with the '89 team. So let me go them out. Don Zimmer, manager. There's going to be quite a few of the players from the '89 team that'll be there at the statue. Once again, credit to them. Sean Dunston, Mark Grace played with them for 12 years. Us three were like brothers showing up at the ballpark. We all knew each other so well. All we had to do was just look at each other with this count, with this hitter, and we'd all just move to this direction. Here's a pitch thrown, the count changes. We all look to each other. We move this direction. And to play with those two guys, with the work ethic and the routine and gamers and showing up every day, big part of my success as well.
Okay, so a question that I've always wanted to ask you is Jim Fry. I got to interview him a few years ago, and he said, I told him, quit hitting the ball on the ground. You have power. Take us back to that moment, because that's not how you were trained. You just told us, hit the ball hard like a line drive.
Well, coming up, I didn't have the power in the minor leagues to hit the ball out of the ballpark. I didn't have that kind of power. I didn't have it in high school. I was a gap hitter. I could put the bat on the ball, hit for a high average, do damage that way, steal bases. And 82, 83, that was my style. And I was batting second, playing second. That was asked of me. Get on base, steal bases. Anything in the air to center field was an out. If I didn't crush it to left, then that was an out. So I was gap to gap, line drive, 82 and 83. Jim Fry comes over and takes over. He watched me play about 2 weeks of spring training games, and then he pulled me aside because he just came from the American League, and he loved Earl Weaver and the 3-run homer. He said, Ryne, have you ever thought about hitting the ball out of the ballpark every now and then? And that's the way, he kind of leaned in and said, well, yeah, but it's not that easy. Hey, Jim, it's not that easy. Well, we're going to work on that. So the next week in the cage early, we went, and he actually flipped some balls to my left hip, and I had to exaggerate to get the head of the bat out there and pull the ball with some. He said, now hit it as hard as you can. It's a 3-1 count. You got the green light. Hit this ball as hard as you can. Did that for a full week. He goes, now when the games start here in spring training, if you hear me whistle, if you hear that on this count, I want you to do that swing.
That's awesome.
So it was 0-0, 1-0 count, 2-0 count, 2-1, 3-1 count. I'd hear a whistle. Okay, my skipper wants me to do this. Well, here's a fastball count. Here comes the fastball. I go like this. I had instant success. I was hitting balls down in the corner. I lifted a couple out of the ballpark. And that opening day against Greg Minton, he used to eat me up on the inside. He had a heavy bowling ball type of a fastball in on your hands to a righty. And I went up there with that approach against him because that's where the pitch was going to be, and actually hit a home run on opening day. So instant success there. Hit 19 home runs that year, but 19 triples and a lot of doubles. So the power numbers came, and Jim Fry, all the credit in the world. He was the first one to train me, ask me to do that, expect it, and it happened. And then from that point on, I just fell in love with that approach, and I took advantage of fastball situations and just tried to, on those counts, just a free swing and hit as hard as I could. If it was 2 strikes, I reverted back to, okay, now let's put the ball in play and go gap to gap. So that was the rest of my career. And I added power with confidence as I hit 30 and 40, and as I got older and aggressive in those counts, and didn't miss too many fastballs in those counts. And that really changed my whole game.
Hey, Ryne, you've stayed around this team a lot over the years, obviously, recent years, even this year you've been around. What do you think of this ball club this year? It's got a high payroll. They got stars on the team. I think they expected a lot more.
You know what? I was, Gordon, I was very, very pleased with April. Cold weather. This team was putting up 7, 8, and 9 runs, and they were having rallies, and they were getting 4 or 5 hits, 6 hits in an inning, and they were running the bases, and they were winning games. I said, well, this is looking pretty good. Let's hang in there, at least to the All-Star break. And if they need pieces, I have full confidence in ownership to go get a piece or two. So this, great start. And then the surprise injuries with Suzuki and Bellinger, bumps and bruises, a couple of extra losses there, some early losses with the closing situation. Which you look back, you win 3 out of those 5, whether it's 5 losses, 3 out of 5, that's 3 games. So they were they were playing with that to figure that out, but they're still winning and, 10, 12 games over 500. And then Swanson with his time on the DL, and then Nico Horner banged up. So they did have some injuries, and that's where some losses came. But now it seems like now having everybody back, they just have not seemed to put everything together. And the starting pitching very strong for the first month and a half, 2 months. The bright spot really, and then the timely offense. You put those things together, that's where they were 12 games over. Then a little shift with the starting pitching, and then the offense trying to play catch up. So it's not putting the two together, which they had for a month and a half. To have a team that can hit the ball in the ballpark and score runs on a daily basis, everything can create some momentum there, and then your pitching can feed on that. The pitching doesn't have to be perfect and things like that. So right now, I would imagine the pitching goes out there and tries to put up zeros, and then to get down 1 or 2 or 3 runs. Now the offense trying to catch up. So it's just like that. That combination for me is just not gelling as a team.
Yeah.
So I was to answer your question, I was impressed there for about a month and a half, 2 months, and now it's look. I'm just waiting for some type of a spark and to see 20 or 30 games with over 500 and make that move in a division that there's time to make a move, but you got to make a move. Everybody's bunched up now in second and tight third place. So it is there, but the offense a little bit puzzling as we speak. Like I said, early on, it seemed like they were able to put the bat on the ball and manufacture runs and do some things in cold weather, which I was impressed with, and the other teams were struggling with that. So now with warmer weather, I'm not sure what the deal is there on the offensive side of the ball, but like I say, the chemistry and the combination of putting the pitching and hitting together, when that gels, it looks good. And when one is off, then the other has to work a little harder, and it sometimes comes up short.
Would you get a bat or an arm at the deadline?
Well, for me, winning starts with pitching and defense. I think if you pitch and you play defense, you have a chance to win every game. Now, guys swing the bat. Sometimes they don't swing the bat. But, for me, pitching in today's game, you can't have enough of it. And you put some zeros up there early and you make some defensive plays. Now the offense knows that they can just, let's put 2 runs up there. Let's put a run up there and send a message, 1-2 runs this inning. Without pitching and poor defense, you might be down 5. Now the offense is saying we need 7 or 8 runs. That's a tough mindset there. So anytime to answer your question, anytime you can get a quality pitcher, for me, that's a game changer. This team has shown last year they have the ability to play good defense, and it's been slightly off as of late. But I think they can improve defensively to get a boost in the arm and have a pitching add to that, a pitcher that puts up zeros. I think that would be a nice piece.
Right behind you is the jersey you were wearing in 1984 when you clinched in Pittsburgh. Right up at the top there.
Look at that.
Watched the end of that game yesterday because I was talking about with my radio partner, Jonathan Hood, and the pitch to Joe Orsulak is literally that far off the plate, like 2-3 feet. And I remember Sutcliffe telling me that pitch was nowhere close. What do you remember?
Well, he told me right after the game, we were set up there for a post-game interview with WGN, and he goes, "Ryne, did you see that last pitch?" I said, I did. He goes, "That was a waste pitch. I just wanted to show that put outside, and then I was going to come back with Orsulak, a left-handed hitter, with a slider down and in, and maybe I get a swing and a miss." He goes, "I was looking for the ball back from Jody Davis, and then here's the strike call." He didn't know what to defroze for a second, but we all ran in there and jumped, and I'll never forget that night at Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh. There was probably about 10 or 15,000 Cub fans behind our. They all charged on the field, which you don't see today. Not happening today.
No,
tased now.
But how about that? At an opposing ballpark, mind you, opposing ballpark.
That's crazy.
The other team charging the field. So as we're jumping up there, and all of a sudden I see these guys right next to me, and then I'm like, man, I didn't know if I was shocked or high-fived them. I don't remember, but then all of a sudden we're surrounded by fans, and now we're trying to get to the locker room off the field. And the last thing that I remember was my hat was taken off of my head before I got to the dugout. So somebody has that game hat from that night. And right up here is the pull-up blue jersey.
Yep.
Size 42, much slimmer and jersey than I could put on today. But that's the jersey that had champagne on it from '84, clinching right there. And I've had it up there and had it framed, and that's the spot for it. But yeah, what a night that was.
Man, you talk about this stuff like it was yesterday. Does it feel that long ago? It was 40 years ago.
No, and you know what? The beauty of it, I've been able to, you know what? I've learned, just a second. I've learned since going through this the last 5 months, I have teammates for life. Not only teammates in '84 and '89. These guys called me from day one when they heard and said, "Hey, we got your back. We got you." And so once we're able to be emotional and get through that, now we'd sit there and we'd talk for an hour and a half on the phone about this game and this pitch, and it's incredible. So I'm looking forward to more of that. And then they've called back weekly, every other week, and we've talked about the game and everything and the appreciation for each other. It's that, talk about medicine for me. Unbelievable.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the power of healing. I know you talked about how all these people sending you cards and social media posts, how much that played a role in your recovery.
No doubt. The Cub fans, unbelievable at Wrigley, social media, my mail. First of all, I don't know how everybody gets my address, but everybody gets my address. I've got a large bin thing that has all these cards that came in the mail, and the Cubs fans and actually baseball fans. I've gotten cards from Mets, from New York, from Mets fans, from St. Louis Cardinal fans, from Hall of Famers, from former coaches of other teams, managers that managed against me. The fact that I put the word out and included everybody in my journey has been unbelievable. And talk about medicine on a daily basis, which still continues today. Unreal. And the baseball world, we all pull for each other, and we're all human beings, and we all played the game, but they've had my back this whole time.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Ryno, we were also together for Game 7. You were doing work with me and with Todd Hollingsworth for NBC Sports Chicago. And I remember we'd get done with the post game and you'd be, I got to go. I got to get inside. And then you'd come back out. What do you remember about, like, I so wish Ron Santo had lived, because he would have gone insane when they won.
Yes.
What do you remember about Game 7? Because for me, it was a microcosm of everything it meant to be a Cubs fan. You're winning. Now they come back. They hit the homer. There's the rain delay, and then they win. Unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. And you know what? I loved doing the post game with you and Holly. It really got me in tune with the game and really got me fired up. But that Game 7, I was just chomping at the bit to wrap up the show.
Right.
And get over the first pitch. I'm glad I didn't pull a hamstring running across the street, get hit by a car running across the street to get to my seat.
Yeah.
You know, those last couple of nights, I mean, I don't think I slept. I felt like I was playing. And doing the game, the pregame with you, Cap and Holly, it really got me closer to the game, like it was game day, which I really loved, and the juices flowing. But to watch the first pitch and to see the Cub fans there and watch that game develop, we were cruising there. We were cruising there pretty good, and the reality was setting in. This is looking good. Then the home run, and the place cheered for the first time. The Indians fans, first time the whole game had something to cheer about, and they all did it once. That was like, oh no, we can't wait any longer for this to happen. We can't wait I can't wait till next year. I can't wait 10 more years, and all those thoughts. And I tried to just stay positive. And then the rain delay, which to me was just like a timeout from heaven or something. Oh. And the way that it happened and the way that the players reacted to that, went inside and regrouped. They came out with a hit and a rally.
Jason Hayward.
Unbelievable. Jason Hayward, tip of the cap to him. I was around him all those years, and that year and the years after. What what a big piece, and that was a big thing that he did there. But he was a big piece of the whole postseason that the Cubs had. But Jason Hayward, the rally, I believe that there was a pinch runner with a big bag there.
Almora,
yeah, Zobrist with the key hit, and then Montero with the key hit, and the early stuff that went on with the home runs and David Ross and Dexter Fowler. What a game! I mean, you could watch that as any baseball fan and just appreciate the game of baseball and how it's played and the ups and downs and the talent level. But you know what? After that season and after that game, I said, you know what? That's what it took. It took that group of guys with that ownership, that management, that manager, those coaches, those players. Each one of those guys was why the Cubs finally won the World Series. No doubt about it. It took those guys to do it.
Yeah.
I had one more. Mark Grace told me you, him, and maybe Dunston, I can't remember who the third one was. He said, we're playing in Florida. He goes, have you ever talked to Rhino? I said, I'm going to. He said, ask him this question. He said, we're all lined up signing autographs, and Harry walks out. He said, and every fan ran to Harry, and then he turned to you and said, I guess I know where we are on the pecking order here.
Well, that's true, and that was Gracie learning that on the early side of it. But that was me from '82 on all the way, and then Gracie started to experience that. But after '84, I remember in Atlanta and Montreal and all those places. For me, it was my routine just before I hit. I'd come in from taking the grounders. I'd get my bat and batting gloves, go up to hit, but I'd stop over right there by the fans, and I'd sign for my 5 minutes and do my duty there. The fans were pleased about that. But nearly every time when I was just about to stop, I would hear someone say, look over there, there's Harry. And then, oh, right. They all go over there. So, Harry, thank you very much. I'm going to go take my batting practice now, and I'm good to go. But yeah, that's how recognizable he was and a fan favorite. The fans really not only welcomed but looked forward to having Harry in their family room on TV.
They absolutely did.
Like he was a family member. He was part of their family. And at '84, and the years slightly after that, but '84. He was like a family member to them. So when they would actually come to a Cubs game for one of the first times or whatever, they see him, they were going over to see the guy they watch every single day and admire. Yep. It's pretty incredible. But that was WGN and Harry and Steve and all that and across the country. That was a big part of my knowing that everybody's watching at 120.
Yep.
All of baseball's watching. There's no MLB network. There's no ESPN. There was just a starting. No, not even ESPN baseball. Maybe Sunday night. But we were the game, and we all knew taking the field, we were the game. So I experienced that in my first All-Star game in '84. I come out at Candlestick for batting practice. American League's already out there. And the bat boy from the American League comes running up to me, and this is '84, my first All-Star game. Hey, Mr. Sandberg. George Brett is behind home plate. He'd like to get a picture with you. You're his favorite player. I said, George Brett. No, I've been watching him for 10 years on TV as a kid. He's trying to hit 400, and I'm walking there thinking that. I get down there. Hey, Rhino, I watch you guys every day before I go to the ballpark, and you're just tearing up. You guys are so much fun to watch. And then he goes, once he got to the ballpark, he'd watch the ending of the game, and then he'd go out for batting practice. So that was the George. I have the 8x10 that we took. I still kept, and this is George Brett, let alone fans and baseball fans and Cub fans, that
everywhere
watch the game. And we were on at 1:20 in the afternoon. The Braves were on at night, and then it was the Saturday games of the week. That's all the baseball on TV. I always took note of that and always knew that was the case. So from inspiration for me to play hard and to give it my best effort, along with all the other reasons of a teammate, and that's what I wanted to do. That was a part of it, was WGN TV.
By the way, I have a picture. I'm going to send this to you. That is you, me, and Holly, November of 2016 at the end of pregame before you ran in.
That's awesome.
Yep. I'm going to send that to you. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, good memories there. That was a good time, like I said, and I really enjoyed that. It was the right year to do that, as it turned out. Nothing like it, but yeah, good times.
Hey, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Everybody's praying for you. We're all Rhino strong,
Awesome.
so God bless you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, guys. We'll see you around. We'll see
We
you.
got you.
Absolutely. We look forward to it.
Have a good one.
You too. Thanks again.
You got it.
Take care.